Hello my quilting friends, my name is Leah Day and this is the free motion quilting tutorial for knotted net. And we're going to get started by stitching some simple wiggly lines from one edge of our quilting space to the other. So just fill in one whole half of your quilting space, the entire section, with these simple curving lines. Now we're going to turn this into knotted net by stitching perpendicular across those curving lines, and as I intersect, I'm going to stitch a little kind of thread painted dot. So I'm trying to stitch a curve and think about hitting those lines and stitching those dots all at the same time. It's quite a lot of things to be thinking about at once, and don't worry if you don't stitch it exactly perfectly. It's meant to look like a knotted net. Not exactly perfect, not absolutely perfect echoes, just as nice as you can stitch it today. Once you get one line stitched, I do think that this starts feeling just a little bit easier. Now, one thing to kind of keep in mind as you're stitching this is not to let the thread build up too much on those little thread painted dots. If it does, you might end up breaking thread. You might notice your thread shredding or breaking as you stitch over those areas. I do use Isocord thread. It is a 50 weight embroidery thread. That surprises a lot of people, but I have been using it for over 10 years for free motion quilting all of my quilts, and it has held up so great. It's held up great on my bed quilts, on my tablecloth quilts, on my baby quilts. It has just really held up well. So that is the thread I use so that I can stitch and do some travel stitching like that, some thread painting, and my thread very rarely breaks. So I'm going to just continue filling in this side, just stitching that curving line, occasionally stopping to make those little thread painted dots. And now let's give this a try. Let's see if it will work on a long arm. So I'm getting started on my Quilting 19X Elite long arm. I'm out in the Crafty Cottage and I'm starting out with these wiggly lines. This is very easy quilting, just focused on stitching those lines right across this area. And I'm quilting this on roughly a 1.5 to 2 inch scale, so really keeping a lot of distance between those lines. And this is a practice sandwich, so I am feeling free to make mistakes if that is just how I'm stitching today. It's always good to give yourself some practice time so that way you can get used to new designs. All right, so now that I've stitched my first set of lines, now it's time to go across. Got to remember to do that little bit of thread painting, kind of spiral into that, and then go back into my curve. So just as I'm stitching this, I can tell it would be maybe an interesting idea to try this with rulers. Our super slide or mini slide rulers might make this interesting. It might make it easier. It might make it more difficult. I don't actually know, but I really like the control I have over that thread painting I have with those little dots. You could also just try for more of an open spiral. So something more like this, if you wanted to, that is a-okay too. It's really entirely up to you as far as what you think looks best for the design. I kind of like a little thread painted knot. I think that looks cute. All right, so once I stitch one line, that really kind of sets the stage, and then now I can try and echo that line with my next one, so that way I kind of mimic that curve. So I'm coming in, trying to maintain that curve and also remembering to hit those dots, because if you focus on the curve too much, it can be really easy to just turn this into matrix, and matrix is just a wiggly grid, no dots. Same design, just no dots. But we really want to add those dots in. I think that they really make the design interesting. It definitely takes a little bit more time, but it's one of those things that kind of just adds that little bling. I kind of like the bling. I really do. It's interesting. So I'm going to take my time filling this in. Definitely still getting used to using my Quilting 19X Elite. This is the first day that I've turned it on and started playing with it. And already you can see my terrific looking stitches. I mean, just a little bit of a tension test, and I was able to find this perfect tension on this machine. So So really, really enjoying that. And I really enjoy being able to just give myself permission to play, to make a mess, to make some ugly stitches on this practice sandwich. It doesn't have to be perfect. And sometimes that's necessary. We just need to give ourselves permission to use a yard or two of fabric for practice. And you can get a lot out of that. You can get a lot of bang for your buck just filling that in and seeing how much control you have. I know I could just tell right then I was gripping the handlebars just a little bit too tight. So I relinquished some of my control and just have my hands more open now. And that feels better on my hands. And I can't say that it changed my stitches any. Didn't make them any better or any worse, but it feels better. So if you catch yourself gripping your handlebars too tight, watch out for that. It's not necessary to have a death grip on it. The long arm's going to move really, really nice and smoothly. Regardless, it's got wheels. Now I can tell that my line has gotten a little straight. It's no longer a nice curve, but I can correct that anytime. As I swing in for this line, I'm going to make it really curvy. So I'm going to really focus on kind of coming in at a diagonal from one dot to the next. And let's try and make those dots just a little smaller. Let's make really tiny dots for this last line. You can see that speeds things up a little bit. Definitely can make it a quicker design. I'm almost going with a zigzag now, so that's not quite the point, but it's a knotted net. It's meant to look a little organic. It's not really supposed to be perfect and echoey. It's really just a free-form, beautiful grid design. So I hope that you will give this a try in your quilts. And now stitch back here just so you can see some of this pretty texture. It really turned out nice, and I like that little bit of bling with all of those little thread painted dots. And here you can see that same texture stitched on a home sewing machine. Really, really fun design. Now, if you'd like to learn more about the machines that I used in this video, come and check out my new Qnique 19X Elite. You can find it at leahday.com/19. Until next time, let's go quilt.